And breaking and welcome news. We've got a brand new federal lawsuit just filed against the Trump administration in the District of Columbia, as expected. Lisa Cooke, who has a Federal Reserve Board of Governors seat until 2038, is not going anywhere without a fight, despite Donald Trump's efforts to try to take over the Federal Reserve, destroy its independence, ruin the stability of the American economy, all because he wants a couple of more points taken off of interest rates. And he's using Lisa Cooke. He'll sacrifice her professional credentials, her professional reputation on the altar of his greed for power, his push for power. And now she and her lawyer, Abby Lowell, have filed their lawsuit. As I've outlined a couple of days ago, it's exactly what I predicted. It's a request by the court that the court make a declaration that Donald Trump cannot remove Lisa Cooke as a board of governor on the Federal Reserve, and an injunction to stop him from doing it. Why does it matter? There's a 7-member board of governors. Right now, it's 4-3. Trump is in the minority. He doesn't like minorities, and he certainly doesn't like to be in the minority. He's trying to get that 4th seat and get Lisa Cooke under pressure to fold, claiming that she committed mortgage fraud when there are no substantiated findings of that at all, about whether she listed on a mortgage application that a piece of property was her primary residence or not. Certainly doesn't rise to the level of a 4-cause reason to take Lisa Cooke off, and she is fighting back under the 5th Amendment due process, under the Federal Reserve Act, and the rest. I break it down for you right here on this breaking news story on the MeidasTouch Network and for Legal AF. I'll read to you from the actual complaint. Let me do that now. I think that is very interesting for everybody. And then we'll talk about how we got here. The reason Donald Trump, however, is going, just as a preview, the reason that Donald Trump is going after Lisa Cooke is not Lisa Cooke per se, a PhD in macro and microeconomics who has served on the boards and worked for Harvard and Stanford and other major economic bureaus. It's not Lisa Cooke per se. She's just a proxy because he can't get rid of Jerome Powell, Jay Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve. He can't get rid of him through May 2026. So he's trying to find out, poking around in there to see if there's any other way to shake out another board of governor. And I have another working theory I'll share with you here on MeidasTouch. It didn't help that a Biden appointee gave up her seat a decade early and threw in the towel and said, I'm out. Just about 2 weeks ago, I think that emboldened Donald Trump. He said, well, if Krasner's going to quit, that gives me a seat. Now I'm only 1 seat away. I think she emboldened Donald Trump because she, for her own reasons, said, I'm out. I can imagine why. Not everybody can take the slings and arrows of Donald Trump, but Lisa Cooke can. And so Lisa Cooke is being used as a proxy for Donald Trump to try to get a hold of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. And then by extension, the 12-member Federal Open Markets Committee that meets every month and sets the interest rates. Why does Donald Trump want to get his hands on the interest rates? It's because he wants to manipulate the money supply in order to wallpaper over his deficient and failing economic policy by pumping more cash into the system. And he doesn't care how high inflation will go in every country, including America, where the president or the dictator gets control of the central bank. Hyperinflation results. Overseas, we have an example here, the last criminal president we had with Nixon, who got ultimately control of the Federal Reserve, and we just had hyperinflation, gas lines around the block and all the rest. Let's get to it. Here's what Lisa Cooke says through her lawyer, Abby Lowell. And then I'll talk about the judge, a Biden appointee who's been appointed to the case. This is first page introduction. On the evening of August 25th, President Donald Trump turned to his social media account on Truth Social to state that he had fired Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cooke. This followed an August 20th call for her to resign based on nothing more than another social media posting, this time by Bill Pulte, who's the director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency. That's an agency, we call it Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Fannie Mae is not involved with mortgage fraud investigations. They're supposed to be involved with liquidity liquidity and funding of mortgages. Anyway, he's a Trumper of the first order, a Nepo baby philanthropist that got appointed to this job. And his job has been to be the pit bull for Donald Trump to go after Democratic leaders, Democratic appointed leaders, and accuse them of mortgage fraud. The operational independence of the Federal Reserve, the complaint continues, is vital to its ability to make sound economic decisions free from political pressure of any election cycle. That's what the case law says. And you can only remove a Federal Reserve Board of Governor member if you can show a for-cause reason. And the Supreme Court has backed that up about the Federal Reserve in an unrelated case in May involving the head of the National Labor Relations Board, Gwen Wilcox, in which they said in the Wilcox case, the Federal Reserve nobody can be fired, including the chairman, without for-cause reason. And then for-cause has been defined as things like crimes and malfeasance and neglect of duty, self-dealing, not providing honest service, and things like that. Not you messed up on a mortgage application. That doesn't really rise the level to take you out of a 12-year seat on the Federal Reserve. No amount of pressure is going to change that. They go on to say on the bottom of 2 that Trump's actions violated Cooke's Fifth Amendment due process rights and her statutory right to notice and hearing under the Federal Reserve Act. And therefore, it goes through what she seeks. If we go to paragraph 9, it talks about why we want, as a nation, an independent Federal Reserve. Paragraph 9, an independent Federal Reserve is essential for a stable economy, as the short-term political interests of a president often clash with sound monetary policy. Presidents facing pressure to boost the economy may favor lower interest rates and a more expansive policy to achieve a temporary economic lift. However, this approach often fuels long-term inflation. Abby, I don't know if you've been watching my hot takes, but certainly I predicted paragraph by paragraph so far what you were going to say in your outline. Very good outline here. A politically insulated board of governors, the complaint continues, can make appropriate, albeit unpopular decisions such as raising interest rates to combat inflation that are crucial for the nation's long-term financial health. That's what she's arguing. This is just a political dispute. This is a policy debate, not about real for-cause rationale for her. And then they go to the pressure campaign on Jay Powell and on the Federal Reserve. And they quote Donald Trump over and over again, attacking Jay Powell, too late Powell, always too late cutting interest rates, screwing up the economy. That's a lie. That's a lie. He cut the interest rates in 2020 with Joe Biden, and it led to hyperinflation. And so he's been very cautious ever since about inflation. It's not that he's too late. It's that they think he's too cautious, which is, of course, untrue. So the complaint then goes through all the case law. I mean, sometimes, I've drafted complaints myself. You generally don't put in case law. But when the sole issue here is what does for-cause termination mean, which is the barrier to this president firing Gwen Wilcox, I get why the complaint mentions the long line of cases we've talked about a lot on Legal AF, like Humphrey's executor from 1935 and the Wilcox case from just this past May, and why it matters to this final determination about can Donald Trump pull out of his ass through Bill Pulte a random allegation of mortgage fraud, whether it's true or not. By the way, whether she screwed up on the application or not is of no moment. Does any of that rise the level of for-cause termination? Donald Trump's trying to focus it on whatever I say is for cause. And you can't challenge me as a federal court. You see this coming now, right? Whatever I say is for cause should matter. And that's it. You can't look behind my decision-making. Well, the complaint outlines all the political pressure that Donald Trump is placing on Lisa Cooke and prior to that on Jay Powell to try to get control of the Federal Reserve. If you want to just see an example, let me show you 2 back-to-back clips. One, Donald Trump attacking Jay Powell, and of course he backed off from that eventually. And 2, him attacking Lisa Cooke. Let's play him back to back. Go.
I told him he's doing a very bad job. He's way late. That's why I call him too late. Jerome Powell is too late. He's way late. interest rates should be coming down. Jerome Powell has done a terrible job, and frankly, I don't think he could do a worse job.
You're going to fire Lisa Cooke, the Fed governor, over her mortgage fraud?
If she doesn't resign, yeah. What she did was bad, so I'll fire her if she doesn't resign.
So that adds another wrinkle about what would happen if he did fire her.
Okay, I'm in Section 10 of the Federal Reserve Act right now. The president has the authority to fire a Fed governor with cause. Cause is a little bit up for interpretation, as we know.
So the complaint has just been filed. We knew it was coming. The judge that's been assigned is Gia Cobb, C-O-B-B. And that's a Biden appointee who's handled tons of high-profile cases, including related to Jan 6th, and is currently handling the FBI retaliation lawsuits that have now been filed by people that have been fired by the head of the FBI. So this is a very good judge. I think we'll see a ruling relatively quickly, because what they're asking for, if you go to the end of the complaint, I will post this on Legal AF Substack for all to read. If you go to the end of the complaint, what they're asking for is a declaration that Trump's purported firing of Governor Cooke is unlawful and void, and that she is an active member of the Federal Reserve. We've got a meeting coming up soon. Of the Open Markets Committee, of which she's a member, to set rates. He's trying to sideline her. He's trying to get her to take a leave of absence to lose her voice in that room. Right now, she's not going anywhere. And she's going to participate in that hearing, I'm sure. A declaration that members of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve can only be removed for cause, meaning inefficiency, neglect of duty, malfeasance in office, or comparable misconduct. A declaration that an unsubstantiated allegation of mortgage fraud is not for cause. An injunction against the defendants, ordering that they refrain from trying to fire her and bar her from the building, and the rest. So this has now been filed. It'll be on a speedy track. Norm Eisen is also joined with the Democracy Defenders Fund. And we will see this up and running relatively soon with Judge Cobb. And we will continue to report on it right here. But this is a good development. This is exactly what needs to have happen, as opposed to, the other Biden appointee who said, I'm out, let's give Trump the seat. Don't do that. The resistance requires resistance. Defiance requires courage and leaning forward and being a first responder to defend our democracy. And we're seeing that exhibited, of course, by Lisa Cooke, and we're here for it. Take a moment, hit the free subscribe button for MeidasTouch. Do the same thing on Legal AF, the YouTube channel, and join us on Legal AF Substack, where you'll be able to read this entire complaint that I will post, along with some video interviews that we're doing around this issue as well. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok.
Hey everybody, Ben Meiselas here from the MeidasTouch Network. I wanted to let you know about my podcast partner, Michael Popok's new law firm. It's called the Popok Firm. Michael Popok's pursuing his dream of starting his own law firm, really based on the popular demand by all the Meidas Mighty and Legal AFers who were approaching Michael Popok with their cases and saying, can you help us? And at that time, Popok was not able to. So he went out on his own. He started the Popok Firm, where he is now handling catastrophic injury cases like car accident cases, trucking cases, malpractice cases, big negligence cases, wrongful death cases. So if you or someone you know have a case like this, the consultation with Popok's firm is free. Give him a call, see if you have a case. It's thepopokfirm.com, thepopokfirm.com, or you can call 877-POPOK-AF, P-O-P-O-K-A-F. So 1-877-POPOK-AF. Give Michael Popok a call, and I'm really proud of you, Popok. Thanks for all the hard work you're putting in.